Well, hello, and thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Robert Bartosh of Proactive Wellness and Injury Center. And in this presentation, of course, we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. So, in welcoming you, I want to let you know that during this time that we share together, I hope to help you to gain a better understanding of how to readily incorporate intermittent fasting into your lifestyle, whether it be a fitness plan or a weight loss plan, so that you can achieve your goals and get your energy levels and your metabolism back to a state where you're able to enjoy the best performance of your life. That's what it's all about. So, as we get into this, the question then is, what is intermittent fasting? You know, intermittent fasting is heralded as one of the most effective ways to lose weight, to get your body back into shape, and to maintain your metabolism so that you indeed can enjoy the best performance of your life. So, simply put, intermittent fasting, I want you to understand, is not a diet. It's not a diet. Rather, it's an eating pattern. Believe it or not, intermittent fasting is derived from the eating patterns of those that have lived long before us. It was a part of the spiritual dynamics, if you will, of the nation of Israel. We read about it in the Word of God in the Bible, and that now it's being lauded as something, a new discovery, where people are attributing it to the hunter-gatherers, or this philosophy of man, where he's discovered this and whatnot. And we've got all kinds of fasting programs, if you will, that are being offered out there. There's wet fast, there's dry fast, there's juice fast, there's fruit fast, there's all kinds of fasts. But all of them, they are, how can I put it? They're erroneous, because if you're eating anything, regardless of what you're eating, it is not a fast. The word fast means abstinence or absolution from. So look, if you're eating something that I know that some people have gotten into this Daniel fast, and it's ridiculous, saying that he only ate foods that were unpleasant and not pleasant. Look, if you're eating anything during a period of time, it's not a fast. Okay. So anyway, getting back to that, um, it is something that is a biblical principle, and now it's become a new phenomena, if you will. And now it's being marketed and touted out there as a new way of doing things. But again, it's not. So getting back to the intermittent fasting, how does it work? That's the question that a lot of people have, because there's a right way and a wrong way to do anything and everything. So if, or intermittent fasting, the IF, it generally involves varying periods of fasting interspersed by shorter windows of eating. So during which, when you're doing this, the calorie deficiency for that period of fasting time is accounted for. So that means that you're not eating for a period of time, and then you are eating. And there's going to be several cycles of which have been proven to work for those seeking, especially if you're wanting to lose weight. All right. So by adjusting the pattern and the frequency by which you consume your meals, you prolong the period of fasting generally reserved for the nighttime, and you restrict your eating hours to a shorter period during your waking time or the day. All right. And this creates a caloric deficiency. Now, as a general rule, um, all weight loss programs agree that the best way to create weight loss is, of course, to restrict the number of calories consumed in comparison to the amount of calories burned or used. So intermittent fasting really is no different in that respect, as the reduction of the calories takes place between the fasting hours, and it helps the body then to digest and assimilate what was consumed during the non-fasting hours in a more effective way. Now, the important part of this cycle is to ensure that the meals you eat in between fasting, the fasting periods are going to be balanced, and they contain enough nutrients and minerals to see your body through the next period of fasting. That's really, really important because there are numerous arguments, both for and against these patterns of eating that are still causing disagreement and discontent in the diet and in the fitness world because they're all marketing and selling to you something different. So it's worth learning as much as you can to see if that program that you might engage in is something that suits you and your lifestyle and your weight loss goals before committing to a period of intermittent fasting. Okay? So we'll talk about this in greater detail as we go along. But first, I want to talk to you about the upsides of the IF or the intermittent fasting, because it wouldn't be fair to discuss or to focus solely on the negatives, because that kind of dieting has ultimately provided some participants with certain levels of success. See, so I want to start by detailing some of the positive outcomes that you can gain if you, of course, do some intermittent fasting. Because some of the aspects of intermittent fasting, like in the media, on the internet, or websites, or whatever, they've directed attention to the fact that almost all people undertaking a period of intermittent fasting have experienced some of these benefits, which are true. When you go on to intermittent fasting, you can expect to lower your instances of cardiac complications. And what I'm simply saying is you're going to get your body healthier, which means it's going to reduce your potential of having uh, cardiac events like heart attacks or whatnot. It's also going to help you to lower your risk of developing diabetes. See, it's really a shame because type 2 diabetes is totally preventable, it's totally arrestable, it's totally reversible. So, these people that are on these medications for type 2 diabetes, it's sad, it's a shame, because here they could do something if they were led in the right direction to get rid of their diabetes. I mean, we have patients that have come to us, and the body is fearfully and wonderfully made. And with the information they get from us and the treatments that they receive, we've had numerous patients who have indeed arrested, reversed, and totally eliminated their diabetes. But getting back to this subject, if you do intermittent fasting on a regular basis, you're going to lower your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So you're also going to lower your levels of inflammation. That I'm talking about cellular inflammation, global inflammation over the whole body, which is going to reduce any joint pains you might be experiencing or prevent from experiencing. And also, as an added bonus, it's going to help you to reduce the amount of excessive or any belly fat that you might pick up. So in addition to these positives, intermittent fasting can help to regulate imbalanced hormones and all of the cellular functions as well. And it can be observed when, after not eating for a period of time, what happens is your body starts to initiate important cellular repair processes, and it changes the hormonal levels to make the stored body fat more accessible for use as fuel. That's what it does, um, simply put, I guess. And while you're fasting for a certain amount of time, inevitably what the body is going to do, it's going to send messages into the weight loss mode. All right. And any existing fat cells you have and the hormones that are called into use to replace the depleted amount of energy in the body that it's receiving, it's going to start to take the calories that are being stored, and it's going to start to burn them for fuel as well. So it's going to be quite beneficial in that respect also. And I don't want you to think now that intermittent fasting is done once in a long period of time. It's actually a new way of living, or a different way of eating, if you will. Now that I've talked a little bit about the upsides, let's talk about the downsides and some disclaimers as well. because the overall benefits of intermittent fasting seem to be largely positive, and it's even recommended by a lot of doctors for their patients today. There are, as with most, if you're looking at this as a weight loss program, there are some downsides then you have to be aware of. And one of the most appealing factors of IF or intermittent fasting is that during the non-fasting hours, that is when you are the time of day that you are eating, the meals you eat aren't necessarily specified as having to contain any particular amount of calories. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the diets, when you eat, it is calorie restricted. Well, not so when you're doing intermittent fasting. You don't have to worry about the calories. However, what you do have to pay particular attention to is that the meals that you are eating have to be balanced. And that means that while your meal prepping isn't everything, it's not a requirement, you still need to be relatively smart about the foods and the portions you consume during your non-fasting hours, during the time that you are eating. Because just because you built up a calorie deficit over your fasting period doesn't mean that you can eat anything you want for like 8 hours and then there would be no consequences. Remember, for every action, there's always an equal and opposite reaction. So, but this is the area where most people fail with intermittent fasting. So it's going to help you to be aware that it's not only during the fasting hours that the awareness of the body hunger's cues must be observed, but you have to pay particular attention to your eating issues as well. Because intermittent fasting can also elevate, listen, it can elevate the likelihood of developing or worsening eating disorders. See? Much of intermittent fasting revolves around controlling and maintaining certain levels of food intake. So there's a fine line between when obsession over eating and not eating during your fasting or your non-fasting days becomes heightened enough to become similar to an eating disorder or that type of thinking. So you've got to be very, very careful here. So let's talk about some different types of examples. Here's one in particular. This is an example of intermittent fasting. It's called the 16-8. 16-8. This is perhaps the most well-known version of the intermittent fasting, and it's been around for quite a while. That's when you leave longer periods between the meals, what's going to happen, it's going to allow the body to process the food you did eat earlier on, and it's going to break it down. And if there's any excess fat cells, they're going to be properly broken down as well and used for energy. And then what you do during your eating time is you eat smaller meals during the day. So that's pretty good news here. So the good news as we go along is that for those that are sticking to this 16-8 way of eating, you're going to sleep through most of the 16-hour fasting window. So the idea is that you follow a pattern of not eating early in the morning and then eating around 11 a.m. in the morning or around noon, and then confining any of your subsequent meals to within an 8-hour window. And then you leave 2 hours after your last meal before bedtime, following the same pattern the following day. So simply put, the 16-8 method pretty much involves you just skipping breakfast, then ensuring that your last meal is consumed at least 2 hours prior to you going to sleep. Okay, sounds pretty easy, right? So let me review here. So we'll just say hypothetically, you're going to go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night and you awaken at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you've had 8 hours of sleep. So that's 8 hours of fasting, right? From 10 to midnight is 2 hours. And then from midnight to 6 a.m. is 6 hours. That's 8 hours of fasting. Already, so you've got a big jump start. Now, instead of eating in the morning, what you're going to do is you're going to keep on going until around noon. So from 6 to noon is another 6 hours. So that's 14 hours, because you've got the 8 hours plus the 6 hours is 14 hours. Okay. And then you can go ahead and eat from, we'll say, from noon till 6 o'clock at night. Now follow me, until 6 o'clock at night, right? We're going to stop at 6 in the evening. Then from 6 o'clock to 8, well, let me see, because you're going to bed at 10. All right, we're going to back up. We're going to eat and stop eating at 8 o'clock at night. All right. So we can eat from noon to 8 o'clock at night. Then from 8 to 9, 9 to 10, that's 2 more hours. You add that to the 8 hours of sleep that we talked about. Now we have 16 hours of not eating. So we have 16 hours of fasting, and we have 8 hours when we can go ahead and eat, right? So that's what you do. So the main challenge during this time that the people face is that during the window of fasting from the morning, that's the biggest challenge, because we have been, or society's been taught that you've got to have something for breakfast. So I want to stop for a moment and talk about that word breakfast. This is what it doesn't mean. Breakfast doesn't mean uh, the meal in the morning. That's not what breakfast means. Breakfast means break the fast. It's the meal that breaks the fast. So you're breaking fast. Your breakfast meal can be at noon. It can be at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whatsoever you choose. It can be 10 o'clock in the morning if you want it to be. That's your breaking the fast. That's your breakfast meal. Okay. That's the problem, because people have been ingrained into their gray matter that they've got to eat in the morning. That's breakfast. Well, no, it isn't. It's the first meal that you eat, regardless of time of day, that breaks the fast. So for anyone who's become accustomed to the breakfast like a king rule, we've been taught that you eat like a king your breakfast, and then the next meal is like a prince, and then the last meal is like a pauper. So you have the biggest meal, then a lesser meal, then the least meal through the day, and that's how you lose weight or stay well or whatever. It's a bunch of baloney. It's garbage, see? And you've got to understand that that would be a tremendous challenge for somebody who's listening to that, or whose life is governed by that. And if the other meals um, the previous day have been nutrient dense enough to provide enough nutrition and also satiate your hunger, the morning fast period should be easier. So in order to do this effectively, you've got to make sure that, like I said a few moments ago, that when you do eat, your meals are well balanced, because that's what's going to provide the energy and the fuel through your fasting period. And if you haven't eaten well during your eating period during the day, then you're gonna fail during your fasting time. You're gonna be craving foods, and you're gonna be eating something just to carry you through. So it's gonna take time to figure out what kind of foods will successfully see your energy levels through until the following afternoon. So you don't want to give up if you try this and you fail the first couple of times, because look, not everybody is the same. We're just not the same. So, some people have aggressive work styles that they go through during their waking hours, where it's physically demanding. Others are mentally demanding. Maybe others are more sedentary in their lifestyle, or it just, your activity level is reduced compared to someone else. So that's going to determine what kinds of foods you're going to be needing, and how well you need to be eating regardless, so that it carries you through. So the question then is, what can you eat on a 16-8 fast, right? When you're doing that's the biggest question on most people's fast hungry lips, is what can they eat during their 8-hour eating window? Um, I want to say that another positive element of this type of eating is that calories are not restricted. Remember, I told you that earlier, so you don't have to worry about counting calories. Both the meals and the snacks, both, listen, Meals and snacks, meals and snacks. Got it? They can be consumed, with the only guideline being that they consist of, this is what they have to be, they've got to be healthy, they've got to be balanced, and they've got to be portion controlled. You don't eat like a glutton. You don't eat like somebody who hasn't seen food for the last 3 or 4 days. Say, you just don't do that. You've got to exercise constraint and control. Now, excuse me, there aren't any forbidden foods when you're on intermittent fasting, but I would recommend that you do avoid overindulgence as much as possible. You know, you're going to have an urge to overeat or binge, and that can arise after, after a period of fasting. So the 16-8 people that are on that have to be aware of this danger so that you lower the likelihood of yourself ending up in binging, right? So if it helps for you to break your fast initially with like a light snack instead of a heavy meal, that might help you to avoid those urges, to binge later on, so that you gradually get back into your eating. And this is something that you're going to have to practice, something that you're going to have to learn, because I said everybody is different. Now, when we're talking about the liquids, now during the 16-hour fast period, any non-caloric liquid can be consumed. So that could be like a tea or black coffee or water. Now, listen to what I said. Tea without any sweeteners, because those are calories. And you've got to, if you're going to have coffee, it's got to be black coffee, because it's usually, in most cases, it's not the coffee that's the culprit. It's the stuff that we add to it. Because today people add a lot of these coffee creamers and these flavor things. They add sugars or the half and halves or whatever. Those are the culprits. Those are the ones that are going to derail you. So as soon as you listen, as soon as you eat anything like that, your fast is negated. See, as soon as you put something like that into your body, I don't care if you don't eat whole food after that, and then you don't eat for another, or you don't eat whole food for 4 more hours. You've gone for 12 hours without eating. You have a cup of coffee with the creamer or the sugar or the half and half. You have stopped your fast right then and there. The body has done, it's done. So you got to make sure that when you're drinking anything, it doesn't contain any sugar, any foods at all. Okay? That's the only way your fast is going to be successful. So it's going to help to take your time when you're eating. When you do eat, what you want to do is eat slowly. You want to chew your food so that you savor every bite, so that the enzymes produced by the body and released by the foods are going to be available. And you might even take a few moments between bites. When you chew, swallow, just wait a few moments. If it's a corporate eating session like with the family, talk a little bit, exchange what's gone on during the day or what you plan on doing during the day. Just have some conversation, because it's been shown that this is really beneficial, not only for overall gut and mental health, but also in enabling the body to absorb the nutrients. And when you absorb nutrients, you don't need as much food, see? And that's going to help if your goal in this is for the purpose of losing weight. All right? So those are some of the things you can do. You can eat the foods. They've got to be balanced. You don't have to count the calories. They've got to be real foods, whole foods. Of course, the cleaner the food, the better. And then also when you're drinking your beverages before you eat, um, during the fasting period, the water unflavored, you don't want anything in it, no sugars. Remember, you can have coffee, you can have tea, but they also as well can't be enhanced with any additives. All right? Okay. So here's some contraindications. These are things regarding the 16-8, because we're talking about 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. So, um, what do I want to say here? Uh, there's some people that'll tell you that that the types of foods that you eat don't matter too much. And I just want to reiterate that yes, they do. If you sat like this young lady and you're eating donuts and doing this, well, you're really undoing any benefits that you may have gotten during fasting because you're loading up with sugar, sugar. Um, if you ate like during this time, if you're eating fried foods, sugary foods, fatty foods, and what I'm talking, when I say fat, I'm not talking about the fat you get off of a piece of meat or in real foods. I'm talking about hydrogenated oils. I'm talking about trans fatty acids. I'm talking about the garbage cooking oils like vegetable oil, corn oil, safflower oil, peanut oil, canola oil. All of those are junk oils. Don't use them in your cooking. You can use coconut, you can use olive oil, macadamia, avocado. Those type of oils are really, really good, but the others would just um, derail you in any progress that you're making. If you are binging and eating these types of foods that I mentioned, the sugary, fatty foods, the fried foods, you're going to get the different results. Actually, you're just not going to get anywhere. So again, you've got to eat clean foods. You got to have balanced meals, and you can't binge. You can't be a glutton. So it's not suited to anyone with an unstable or unreliable blood sugar, because what's going to happen is, if you start eating those kinds of foods that I mentioned that you shouldn't eat, it's going to wreak havoc on you. Okay, so that's what you've got to do, and you've got to be in control here when you're doing this, because I'm telling you, for some people, this is not easy. This is pretty difficult here. It's not just simply, starving and then eating and then starving and eating, because when they do eat, they just undo everything. And it can be hard to change your thought process as well, because your thought will dictate and determine your habits, your eating patterns. And you've got to retrain yourself if you're getting into this. Um, but I do want to tell you that repeated eating patterns, if you do this, it becomes easier for the body and the mind to adjust to it, to adapt to it, as with any kind of change here. So don't beat yourself up if you're getting into this. Do it slowly. You may not be able to do 16 and 8. Maybe it'll be 12 and whatever, and then 10, and then you can increase it to 4 or 10 and 12 and 14, and keep on going up until you do get to the 16-8. All right. So look, if you can't handle the 16-8, then there is the 5 and 2. The 5 and 2. This is really another popular kind of intermittent fasting. That's the 5 and 2 way of eating. And when you do this, this option involves fasting completely. Listen now, because we're not talking about hours here. Okay. Okay. This option involves fasting completely for 2 entire days a week. That's 48 hours. And then you follow with your normal eating patterns on the other days. Now, during your fasting days, now look, you can do this though if you really desire to do it, if you want to do it, then you have the ability to do it. You really do. You just have to exercise your will. It may not be that you want to jump into something like this quickly. You want to, start on something easier like the 16 and 8 and do that for a while. And when you've got this new ritual, this new habit, this new way of eating and living, then you can go ahead and maybe start the 5 and 2. It can be done. Trust me. Okay. But when you do get into this, you're recommended, like on your fasting days. Okay, you're fasting, you're going to be eating and then not eating for 2 days. Okay, when you are not eating, my recommendation is to drink only water and or non-caloric or calorified liquids, and you refrain from overexertion. So what I'm saying is this: look, there, you don't dry fast as a lot of these pundits would say. You're not going to do that. You have to have the water. The water is going to help to detoxify your body to clean it out, okay? And it's going to help to the cells to absorb the nutrients, the hormones that they need, and it's also going to facilitate the body's ability in detoxifying the cells too. So look, you're going to drink water, okay? You can drink coffees, you can drink your teas, but remember, as I said a few moments ago, you cannot have anything added to them. All right. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to do that. And also during this time, if you are a person who's been exercising and whatnot, you may want to either reduce the strain on your body, you want to cut back on your exercises, or you want to totally abstain those 2 days. Hey, your body needs a rest anyway, so go ahead and just pull the plug on the exercise for those 2 days. You don't want to overexert yourself. And the other days of the week can be considered much like the eating window of the 16-8, fasting. That is to ensure that all the meals that you eat during that 5-day period, they're going to be healthy, they're going to be balanced, and they're not going to be used as an excuse to go ahead and overeat, like stock up. You know what I mean? So for your period of non-eating, you don't want to do that. Okay. Also, it's known as the eat and stop and eat way of eating. This theory behind that is that the days where food is not ingested are seen as means of letting the body properly absorb and rest from any digestion. It gives the body a break. Now, the negatives here include long periods of fasting being initially I'm saying, extremely challenging for the newbies that are coming in. So if this is the case, what you want to do is gradually wean onto the this way of doing it until you can get a handle on it so that you can have the maximum effect or benefit. All right. Now, I want to say here too that anyone with existing anxiety or sleep or blood sugar issues, you perhaps would want to avoid doing this. So let me repeat that, because that's a disclaimer I have to make. I don't know your background. I don't know your current state of health. So I can't just throw this on you and tell you to do it. However, I will say, if you are a person that has anxiety, if you're a person that has any sleep disorders or issues, or if you have blood sugar challenges, then I would say right now you want to avoid this, okay? Now, if you're in this area, and by that I mean if you're in the area where my center is located and you want to do something like that, and you are a person who has these types of challenges, then please don't hesitate to contact us, because we can help you to get out of that and to get onto this, because the body's been fearfully and wonderfully made. It wants to be well, and clearly there's something preventing your body from doing just that. So you don't have to live in bondage to the anxiety, to the sleep disorders, to the blood sugar disorders. Your body can recover from those, and you can go on your merry way. So if that's something you want to do, then get a hold of us, okay? Because we're here to help you to achieve just that. So I want to get back to this now and let you know that the longer fasting periods can also make it more tempting to binge after a fast. After you haven't eaten, then you sit down and like a glutton, you just throw things down your gullet, and that's not the way to do it. So it's worth noting that this takes a lot of willpower to control. All right. So that's something you want to consider, even if you're in a healthy body and you want to get into this 5 and 2 type of, and I know I put diet on there, and now that I'm looking at it, it's causing me some pain, because diet's a 4-letter word, and it's not a diet. It's a way of changing your habits and how you're eating. Okay. And I apologize for that. So let's move on then here. because, and I'm beating myself up here, other diets, okay? The alternate day fasting. This is exactly what it sounds like, though, as we move on and get away from the diets and we get into the alternate day fasting. Because what you're going to do here is you fast on every alternate day as opposed to set days of weeks, okay? Now, there are a lot of docs that are going to advise against this method for anyone completely new to the fasting technique or the fasting way of living, as as it's a big challenge and it's a bit extreme for people that are unaccustomed to the effects. And there's a lot of different versions to this kind of fasting. However, some of which allow up to like 500 calories a day on the fasting day, you know, because it is pretty radical for some people to go from one extreme to another. And there's a lot of docs today that maintain that this method is inadvisable for long-term weight loss pursuits if that's your goal, because the frequency of fasting periods leans toward really developing unhealthy habits, and it shouldn't be attempted without having tried fasting. Okay, so what's happening here is that it's an alternate day fasting. That's just what it sounds like. Again, you're fasting on every alternate day as opposed to set days a week. So you're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Now, again, if you're interested in something like that, you want to have a consult with your physician and listen to what I'm saying, okay? Seriously, and understand the reason that I'm saying it. Now, and there's a lot of doctors that have invested many years of their lives and much money and many hours away from their family to gain the information they've gotten. And they are professionals. That's what they've dedicated their life to doing. In today's atmosphere or environment, you can go onto your computer or any device and you can find all of these weekend certified health experts, wellness guides, wellness gurus, um, and I'm not demeaning these individuals, but I am letting you know that if you are looking for information regarding your health, which is going to determine and affect the quality of your life and the longevity thereof it, then you want to go to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Okay? So you can get on the internet and you can find anything and everything. It's the wild west, and they'll make promises and they'll do this and they'll sell you whatever it is out there. You got to really be careful because we're talking about your body, your life, your health. Okay. Um, so again, if these things are of interest to you, talk to the expert, the one that's been around, that's one that's knowledgeable, so that you can get credible information to act on. All right, great. Now that I've covered that, let's move on to the warrior, and again, the diet. Okay, the warrior diet. It consists of fasting completely during the day, and then you eat one large meal at night. That's what you do. You just don't eat throughout the day, but you eat one solid, well-balanced meal for your evening. Now, the thinking behind this one really comes from a similar origin to the 16/8 fasting, see? And the body having been accustomed to long periods without food in times before the ready-made meal and, was there. Uh, it's it's the importance of consuming light, low-calorie snacks during the day. If you do, like plants, like fruits and veggies, and then you eat one large balanced meal at night. That you can do that, or you can go ahead and abstain totally and wholly from any food throughout the day. Now, if you're going to pick foods, I might suggest to you that you go to our website, my website, and or find another one that talks about the paleo diet, Paleo diet. Those are unprocessed, natural whole foods that would have been that you would want to be eating. That's how you want to proceed if you're going to use these foods, okay? Um, but if you are going to go and do that, then that's the kind of a meal you want at night that's composed or comprised of foods that you would find in the paleo menu, right? Great. So the question now is, how do you go about starting an intermittent fast? That's a large part of the successful intermittent fasting is centered around creating the right mentality, because the brain is what's going to dictate and determine the actions that the rest of your body takes. So with any new eating plan, and that's what this is, it's not a diet, you can't expect to see immediate results, right? Because we're creatures of habit. And, what we want to do is we want to have everything done by yesterday. And it's not going to happen that way. It's going to take time for you to adjust, and it's going to take time for your body to show you the results thereof of these new actions that you're taking. So this is more really, it's more of a mental thing than it is a physical thing. And that's what you want to do. You have to create a new way of thinking. And when your body starts screaming and it's telling you, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I got to eat, I got to eat, listen, it's a liar. If you have any excess body weight that you've been carrying around, you're not going to die because you haven't eaten the meal, or you have gone a day without food, or 14 hours or 16 hours without eating. You're not going to collapse and drop there in a pile on the floor. It won't happen. Your body's going to scream because it's like a spoiled child, and it's going to want what it wants when it wants it. But your brain is the adult, and the brain is going to say, nope, you don't need it. We're going to use what we do have. So just understand that it is more of a mental thing than it is a physical thing when you first get into this. Okay. But understand this also, intermittent fasting really doesn't have to be that hard. It's important to understand that you can't just decide that you're going to fast if you accidentally miss or skip breakfast or any other meal. That kind of false justification, it just doesn't work, see? Because as with anything, you've got to prepare. There's got to be preparation that precedes the action. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to get the brain ready. Remember, you've got to start to eat well-balanced, nutritionally dense meals before you get into this, before you expect the body to go without. Because if not, you're going to get into those binges, and you're going to be eating anything and everything as soon as you open up that refrigerator door or that cabinet where the snacks are. And you're going to be telling yourself, it's okay, I can do this just one time. That's not the way to do it. The best way to go about starting the intermittent fast is to plan ahead of schedule. So you're going to start your eating pattern on Monday, maybe, as an example, and you're going to spend Sunday, the day before, getting yourself ready, getting yourself situated for for the Monday that's going to follow. You're going to make yourself aware of all of the potential outcomes and any potential reactions, whether they be negative or positive. See? And look, if you need help, you want to consult medical advice. Like I said, if you're in the area and you need some help with this, give us a call or email us. We're here to help you out. And if you're in any way unsure about whether or not intermittent fasting is something that could work for you, well, then see the doctor that you're going to get his or her advice beforehand. Because listen, if these are conditions or signs that you are currently experiencing, then you should not. And again, I don't know who you are or the situation you're in, but if you're in these situations, I'm here to tell you, you should not try intermittent fasting. Now, if you are pregnant or if you're breastfeeding, you should not. If you have, or if you currently have, or you have a history of an eating disorder, you should not. If you have diabetes or issues with blood sugar levels, you should not. Okay? If you're prone to experiencing anxiety or panic attacks or whatever, you should not. And if you're prone to fainting, if you have bouts where you get lightheaded, dizzy, and you feel like you might pass out, if you have those things going on, or if you have had those things going on, you should not. You got it? I want to be clear. Now, if you are one of those individuals and you want to, then you need to get professional counseling. You need to go to your primary doctor or whoever you're seeing, or if you're in the area in which our center is located and you don't have a primary and you aren't seeing anybody, but you want to do these things, then contact us. We'll be able to help. Okay? Now, also, what you got to do is this: you've got to ditch that stupid bondage, that diet mentality. That is bondage. See? So much of dieting is focused around negative emotions and punishment, right? For the slip ups or the deviations from the diet. And it's so important for you to establish a healthy mindset if you're doing this for weight loss, especially if you're doing this for weight loss before you start any kind of fasting or you do the intermittent fasting. Look, if you're on these diets, I've got to tell you, it's the benefits that you gain, and I'm not denying that there are benefits to dieting, because hey, these people are on Facebook and they're on the sites and they're on all of this stuff and they're showing you the befores and the afters, and I applaud them because at least they're doing something, but they can't do it for long periods of time because it's bondage. It's an artificial way of living. They've not changed their life. They've not changed their wills. What they've done is they've changed the calories that they're taking in. And if they've got to remain in that restriction for the rest of their life, and I will tell you that even if they do maintain these restrictions for a period of time, their body will find a way around it, and they will inevitably and invariably, they will start to gain weight. If that is their goal in its entirety, they will do that. And when you go out in a social gathering, you sit there, oh, I can't eat this. Oh, I can't eat that. No, I can't have that. No, we can't. Oh, what is this? And you know how it makes you feel when you're on the other side of the table and you've got these people sitting there and they can't. It kind of puts a load on you too, you know. And it's just, look, it's not natural. It is unnatural. It's not the way to live. So what I'm saying is you got to ditch that diet mentality, because if you want to be successful, if your goal again is losing weight, that means that sustainable long-term weight loss that stays lost, it centers around creating positive lifestyle changes that incorporate healthy eating. And automatically, when you do that, that's going to lend itself to weight loss. And it's not just the restriction in calories. You got to exercise. You got to quit being sedentary. You got to make quality food choices. They've got to be balanced. They've got to be whole. They've got to be real. So it involves not only diet, but it involves activity levels, environmental factors, and most importantly, mentality. That's what it involves. See, you've got to make quality decisions based upon taking quality actions based upon fact, not fiction. So look, intermittent fasting can be used as one of those lifestyle changes. It's a simple eating pattern that you follow several days of the week or the month. It helps you to regulate your metabolism and slowly return your body to its most natural and balanced state so that you can enjoy the best performance of your life. But you got to keep in mind how you view the process of intermittent fasting. It's that mental picture, because if you're expecting it to work as a quick fix, just as as the diets aren't sustainable, neither is intermittent fasting. It's not a quick fix. A huge element of successful weight loss, because that's where most people are looking at it as an action to take to lose weight. It involves learning how to listen to your body and how to listen to it correctly. That means feeding, that means moving, that means being kind to your body when it needs you to be kind, because it's been fearfully and wonderfully made. And unfortunately, we take better care of our automobiles, we take better care of our pets, we take better care of our computers than we do of our bodies. And we think that, we put on 30 or 40 pounds of excess weight, and all we got to do now is reduce the calories and everything's going to be hunky-dory. That's not true. It's not true. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of health professionals that overcomplicate weight loss by cornering it in a one small element of the pie chart and saying that's all you got to do. Or these pundits that are these health coaches or wellness gurus or whatever, that's what they do. And it's not true, okay? And the only thing that's going to set you free from the bondage is the truth. I'm telling you the truth. So if intermittent fasting helps you to get to that point, great, great. You got to view it as a tool, just as one part, which is going to help you, but don't get addicted. Don't constantly fast, and don't expect it to be the cure-all, and don't expect any changes you're looking for to happen overnight, okay? It's a matter of being wise, all right? That getting rid of the diet mentality and thinking clearly, thinking purely, thinking correctly. Got it? Now, I want you to also know about the altered functioning of cells, genes, and hormones. See, as a doctor, I'm talking about you getting to the place where you can enjoy the best performance of your life. And for those, if you're listening and you may not know, our office is proactive wellness. We're about being proactive and not reactive. We're about disease prevention. See, because studies have shown, and this is why it's so powerful, the intermittent fasting can affect the functions of your cells, and your body is it's only as healthy as the cells that make it up. And that's where health begins, at the cellular level. But it's going to help in the functioning of the cells and of the hormones, and also as the altered pattern of your eating, it's going to ultimately release the hormones necessary for your cell growth, for your cell repair, for your cell wellness. Intermittent fasting, it's really effective regarding the hormones that have to do with your hunger, with your blood sugar, with your metabolism. It helps in reducing insulin resistance, and it's extremely effective in lowering blood sugar levels. And it lowers, as I said quite a few moments ago, in lowering your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. It can help to arrest it if you already are there. It can help to reverse it, and it certainly can help to eliminate it. But that's not it. That's not the only action you have to take, okay? Now, boy, regarding like cancer, it's also been shown I can't get into that too much, but I will tell you this. Periodic fasting can help to trigger improved cell regrowth and immune system repair. It'll help assist your body's recovery from treatments like chemotherapy, and it's going to help using up the stores of glucose. And prolonged periods of fasting also breaks down any significant portions of the white blood cells. This is going to then trigger the stem cells. Oh my gosh, I could go for days, based on the regeneration of new immune system cells. It's just fascinating how fearfully and wonderfully made the body is, and why the good Lord in the Bible told us to fast. We had no idea the ramifications, the benefits that we would get from fasting. Oh my gosh, not only spiritually, but physically as well. And unfortunately, in the church world in particular, it's been cast to the wayside. And we're all no, I won't say we are. Many are all about drugs and surgery. And the body has the answers within if we just respect it, and we would do what we were supposed to do in our responsibility and taking care of it, which we certainly haven't done. Anyway, and I'll digress. I get off track here. Let's get back onto it, okay? So let's talk about your heart and your brain health here. There's the human growth hormone. You may have heard of it, HGH. It's known to be one of the most highly effective hormones in the body. And you know what? It's really most highly effective during your periods of fasting. Yeah, after about 6 hours of doing a fast, this hormone goes into overdrive and it starts producing physiological results in the form of increasing your metabolism. And if you're interested in weight loss, it's going to increase the amount of fat that you burn for fuel. Now, the proteins it produces, which are called amino acids, they're used to improve the brain and the neural functioning. And also, it helps to repair the latest, greatest craze today is people buying collagen. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it helps to repair collagen, and it helps with the skin growth, and it repairs it while it does so. See that beautiful young lady in front of you there with the soft skin without the wrinkles and that? It helps to get rid of the wrinkles, and it helps to keep the skin young looking, and that. Insulin and HGH work as opposites in this function, see? So you got when you do this, when you get that HGH in the body, it's going to reduce that. It's going to get rid of it, and it's going to regenerate your body just from after 6 hours of fasting. Oh, and the cardiovascular benefit. As you know, fasting helps to reduce the incidence, or the instances, I should say, of inflammation. It's going to contribute to the lowering of your cholesterol. Yeah, get off those. Well, I can't say that. The statin drugs, if you want to, give us a call. We'll help you out. Anyway, if you're on them and you don't want to be, fasting is going to help you. It's going to reduce the blood pressure. Yeah, you can get off the high blood pressure medications and your overall weight. These are the benefits of those that are seeking to improve their heart health. But yeah, I'll tell you again, doctors also advise caution to those types of patients, as you've got to watch your electrolyte balance, because that can give rise to arrhythmias. See, so you've got to do this. And if you are doing this, and if you are being challenged with those conditions that I mentioned earlier, you've got to do this under the guidance of a health professional that knows your situation, that knows what they're talking about, and that can basically take you and lead you and guide you through this, okay? Because we're talking about your health here. And I don't want you to think that just by fasting, all of these things are going to happen, because you've got to follow and use it, incorporate it in regards to where you are physically, mentally, and health-wise as well. So that's what you want to do. If you want to do that, you've got to do so under a doctor's guidance. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. So also, intermittent fasting now in males versus females. Yeah, curiously, there's been studies to show that IF, or intermittent fasting, has more successful rates in men than in women. I just had a patient the other day who was sharing with me how her husband is doing intermittent fasting. And I don't know what he's doing, how he's doing it, whatever, but he's lauding all the effects to her, how great he feels, how wonderful he looks, and all this other stuff. And, diets even across the board are more effectual for the male than it is for the female. There's a lot of reasons, of which I won't get into right now, but it's true also with the intermittent fasting. But one of the reasons, as I shared with her, has to do with the hormonal rates involved in the metabolism and the fat storage. So that is something there that that is going on as well, you know. And there's a difference between the hormones of the male and the hormones of the female. So there are benefits there that you're going to see in the male sooner than you would in the female. But I want to tell you, if you are a female, don't become disheartened or discouraged. You will get those benefits as well. Okay. So um, I just want to let you know that. So even though the male is going to have benefits before you, you'll have benefits as well. Okay. All right. So you want to consider yourself and your goals before you commit. See, because overall, in terms of dieting or losing weight or fasting, it's really best to be honest with yourself about why you want to do what it is you want to do before you begin even doing intermittent fasting. Because you're going to find that motivation can come simply from taking the time to find out what the why is, what your goals are, you know, why you want to do this. And this the same as it goes for any kind of weight loss. If you're into weight loss, any kind of weight loss plan. So if you have a clear goal with a clear motivation, then you determine what your clear steps are to achieve it. And then if you do that, it's going to be really difficult for you to fail, you know? So you want to do that. Intermittent fasting, it can't be denied that enough people have experienced positive results from doing this in what I've discussed with you in this presentation. So, you know, you want to be honest with yourself about the factors and honestly noting reactions and responsing your bodies might have to fasting if you're doing that. And as I said, and I can't reiterate enough, you want to seek medical advice and counseling if you are unsure of what to experience or how fasting will affect you. So you just want to take a few moments to consider what your goals are and how you feel and why you want to do what you want to do when it comes to intermittent fasting and what you do realistically, well, how you think about it. See, you got to be honest with yourself and list those things. That's what you're going to want to do. Okay? Okay. And I got to tell you, we're done here, but as far as you're concerned, you're just getting started. So if I want to thank you for allowing me to share this information with you. You may want to go through it again. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email us at office@pro-activewellness.com. We're here to help you, or you can contact us at, you can call us at 217-431-2010. If you do indeed have any further questions, we're here to help you in those ways. And, you know, if you know anybody else that this information might benefit, then certainly feel free to pass it on to them. Because again, we are positioned to help you to achieve the best performance of your life. That's our goal. That's what we want to do for you. Um, so again, thanks so much for allowing me to share this information with you. And until the next time, and as always, God bless.